If you've clearly defined your market and you know them, right? You've interviewed them, you've listened to them, you understand what their jobs, pains, and gains are. Okay, the jobs that they have to do, the pains. This doesn't just relate to bookkeeping. This relates to everything in their business and in their life. Because if you say, this is the job that entrepreneur faces that they don't want to do, it's a pain in the butt for them. If I can take that away from them, what value have I added to them? So clearly defining your market and talking to them and knowing what their jobs, pains, and gains are so that you can address those, that is value. And when you put value in somebody's life, you have a business that is going to sustain forever, as long as you're putting value out there.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be an awesome one. Our guest is the founder and chief teacher at the Bookkeeper Business Academy. He's also the man behind the Bookkeeper Business Launch training program that has helped thousands of people start their own virtual bookkeeping businesses. He's also a really, really, really nice guy, and he is loved by his clients. Ben Robinson, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Michael. Now I have a lot to live up to here, so I appreciate that introduction.
Yeah, well, I work here with Dave, and Dave, reached out to you, and he's been helping us coordinate. And he's like, whenever we talk about, upcoming and getting ready for it, he's like, he's just such a really nice guy, and your videos and the things that you do, I can see why people just love your programs and love doing it, because you come across really, really authentic and just a general a person that loves what he's doing and loves helping the people that he's helping.
Well, thank you. It's nice to hear that from somebody. That means a lot. So thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah, it's great to see. And I'm sure it's part of your success as well. But let's first off, Ben, let's have you tell your story and how you got your start in the business that you're in and how it's led you up to this point.
Absolutely. So I'm a CPA. That's my history. I worked for a regional firm in Arkansas back in the day and worked for them for a couple of years, and then decided, that I was smarter than the partners and, I needed to launch my own firm. So set out thinking that I knew everything and soon discovering that I knew nothing about starting my firm, and kind of painted myself into a corner and do what a lot of us do. And we create success, but that success comes at a huge cost in terms of you have a financial success, but you are never at home. And this was in the early 2000s before the internet was a big thing, which I understand today it to be a big thing. And at that time, I just had a breakdown moment when I came home one night and my 3-year-old daughter didn't even know who I was. She thought that I was just some stranger because I was never at home. And that was really a tipping point for me. And I decided that I had to do my firm a different way. This was not the life that I wanted to create. I was working more than I'd ever worked before and earning less. And it just seemed to be that there was no balance in my life. So I committed myself that time to figuring out, how am I going to do this, right? And how am I going to add value to my clients? And how I'm really going to change my lifestyle? And it was purely from a selfish standpoint, wanting to be there for my family and wanting to make everyone happy, that I set out on this quest. And it didn't happen overnight, but slowly over time, I figured out how to transform my firm so that I could live a lifestyle that I wanted to live. I could deliver value to everyone that was in my presence, first and foremost, my family, then my clients, then my team, and then me. And slowly but surely, I started to figure out how to do that. I did a lot of trial and error, a lot more error than trial. But over time, I've kind of figured out, how do I really deliver value, right? What is value, and how do I help others? And so over the course of time, really retooled my practice, and made it one where we delivered value to everybody that we came in presence with. And it's such a simple shift that I made, but it had a profound impact on everyone that was involved. And so from that, go back about 2.5, 3 years ago, I woke up one day and I said, you know what? I just don't want to be the CPA firm owner anymore, and decided to sell my practice. And fortunately, I had a very vibrant practice that was easy to sell. And after that, I thought, what am I going to do with my life? And I had this about 2.5 years ago now, had this idea that, you know what? I always liked training bookkeepers. And as we all know, the world needs a lot more great bookkeepers. Don't need just regular bookkeepers. We need great bookkeepers. So I thought, I wonder if I could train other people how to become bookkeepers, how to start their own virtual bookkeeping business and take the same principles that I applied in my firm and help others, to help business owners to deliver tremendous value to their own lives and the lives of their clients. And so that's what I did. And so that's when Bookkeeper Business launched. That's when Bookkeeper Business launched, I will say. That was about 2.5 years ago, early 2015. And lo and behold, it worked. It's kind of one of those things you go, oh my gosh, this is actually working. This is awesome. And we have iterated and we've improved, and we're blessed to have a great team and great students. And so that's kind of what has led us up to where we are here today, and you and I speaking.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Great story. Love it. In terms of just, realizing you wanted a change in your life, making that big change, and then building your business, and then realizing you don't want to change, and you took that action and you made it happen. And now you're doing something where you're helping thousands of people. And like you said, we need great bookkeepers, and business owners need those bookkeepers. So I think I'm not surprised why it's been successful. A great person like you matched with an incredible need in the marketplace. Now you focus on, as you mentioned, it's a bookkeeper business launch. So these are bookkeepers that are they're tell us a little bit about that client that says, finds you and starts to go, you know what, this is for me. Are they just getting do they have bookkeeping experience? Can they have no experience at all?
Either. So we if you look at the span of all of our students, and that's what we call them, they're our students. We have some that have no bookkeeping experience. We have some that are CPAs. We have some that are experienced bookkeepers working in industry. We just kind of run the gamut. Our course is taught from the angle that you don't have to know anything about bookkeeping, which is a very bold statement to make. And the reason that it's successful is that we have a community and a back end where we support them and help them. If they were just to go out there on your own, as you know, nobody can just start a bookkeeping business and in 10 weeks be very well versed. And that's where we have a very vibrant community and a backup system to help them and to it's not a direct internship or working one-on-one with them, but it's a community, right? It's kind of the crowd that is helping somebody out. And we've found that to deliver a highly, highly quality product in the end to their clients, because they get the crowd knowledge that's coming behind them. And so just to answer your question, it spans the horizons. Again, we have anywhere from a CPA to somebody who is just wanting to re-enter the workforce or enter the workforce for the first time that has no bookkeeping or accounting experience. So it's a very wide array.
I love that. And I think I'm currently working on a project where I am not a beginner, but it's mechanics. And when I was a young bloke, I guess you could say, in my teens, I did a lot of that, working on cars and working on building a hot rod with my father, actually, for it's a 30-year father and son project.
Oh,
but
wow.
It's 25 years now that I'm getting back on the tools, and I have enough knowledge, but I'm blocked, right? And so I'll get to a point where I just don't know how to get to the next step. And I think that is really the challenge with a lot of bookkeepers, is that, you have general knowledge, you learn some things, and then you hit a plateau or you get to a block where you just don't know. And if you tried to just figure it out all on your own, you'd probably never progress. But a community like yours, and of course, I notice that in our own community,
Absolutely.
is it's like I just need that one piece of information to get that breakthrough that I can get to the next bit. And then that, there's people that are more mature and have been doing it for years and years and years, and it's so easy for them to help other bookkeepers that are maybe not as experienced or knowledgeable as them, but that little tiny bit of information then leads to their next development stage. So it's like just continuing to learn and improve. So it's almost like giving people the opportunity to learn at an accelerated rate. Ben, I don't think there's ever been a time in our history human history, where there's been so much access to information and so quick to actually get it. So I think that's really exciting. And your community sounds like is capitalizing on that and also delivering it.
Absolutely. And there's a show that's just come on TV that's called Wisdom of the Crowd. And it's basically about this guy who he's a crime solver and basically uses social media in the crowd to solve crimes and to put an end to atrocities and things like that. And that's kind of what we do, not in the criminal standpoint, I hope not, but from a bookkeeping standpoint, right? It is the wisdom of the crowd, and collectively we are a mastermind where individually we are not. And the older that I get, the more that I realize that I don't know. I love the bumper sticker that says, teenagers, get out now while you still know everything. Because when I started my firm, I thought that I knew everything. And the older I get, the less that I realize that I know. And I have to realize, and I have to swallow my pride and go, there's other people who know so much more than me. And that's okay. I'm okay with that now, whereas 10, 15 years ago, I wasn't. So that is, you're exactly right. It's such a benefit to have a community like yours and a community like ours where everybody's coming together for the greater good of serving our clients.
Yeah, I love it. And it just has me think of maybe a tip for when people are sourcing from the crowd. I remember traveling in Europe when I was in my early 20s, and I soon learned that I needed to ask about 3 people, because, I could ask and be lucky, but then if I asked 3 people and they all said the same thing, I knew I was going in the right direction. And so when we are sourcing from crowds, we've got to make sure that, just ask it from a few other people and make sure that you've got it when it's something that's important, like where you're going, or
that's
if it's
right.
really important too. So a little bit of a tip. So powerful though. And it's like, for me, my own personality, I love figuring out riddles. I love figuring out clues. And so I was lost a lot because I was always trying to do it on my own. But then I realized, it's just so easy to turn to your side and go, hey, you know what? I'm going over here. Is this where I should be going?
Yeah.
So I encourage all of our listener to, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are already in Bookkeeper Business Academy, the program there. Ask more questions, give more answers, be engaged. It helps you, it helps them, and it helps us serve the community of business owners in our countries.
That's right.
So with you, Ben, you've been at this a while. You've worked with thousands of bookkeepers. You've seen them go virtually from no experience at all to growing their business and beyond. What do you see as their biggest pain points?
Well, so it's ironic that you asked that. The number one thing that I see as a pain point, and this is not unique to bookkeepers, it's unique to anybody who wants to achieve, right? Anybody who wants to grow, and that's fear. And overcoming that fear, right? Or not actually overcoming, it's dealing with a fear and knowing that you are going to prevail regardless of the situation. You always have prevailed in the past. But that's the biggest thing, right? Is that it's the what if. What if this happens? And I found with myself and my students that the number one impediment is fear. It's the kryptonite to anybody who wants to achieve in life. And so part of my mission and where I've found that my sweet spot is, and I've looked back across my life, is helping people to do that, right? It's something that I have to do continuously. It's not something that you do once. It's like mowing your yard or cooking, right? You don't just do it once. It has to happen on a continual basis. But something that I just see that's pervasive across bookkeeping, anybody who wants to achieve, anybody who does not settle for the status quo, which is your audience and my audience, is they have to deal with fear. They have to have an effective mechanism for overcoming that. And so that is like the overarching thing that I see that impedes people to get the life that they desire and that they deserve.
Yeah, you know what? It comes up all the time. I see it in our community, the Successful Bookkeeper Facebook community, people talking about their fear and their stress. And listen, both you and I, we could probably have long conversation about where we've been blocked in our own life by fear, you know, and looking back at those times, it's like, oh, why didn't I just do what I wanted to do? Looking back after I've done it, it's not that big of a deal. But are there any hacks that you know of that help people get to the business of moving on with it more quickly than they might have?
So one resource that I'll give you, because most of the stuff that I've learned about fear has come from a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And that statement right there is very profound. You know, Nike coined the phrase, just do it. That is one thing that I've found that really the only way to overcome fear is to actually do the thing that you fear. And that is scary, and that's so simple, yet it's the thing that needs to be done. Because fear is really that you think that the challenge that you face or the opportunity that's before you is greater than your ability. And so what we really have to do is we have to build ourselves up, right? And again, this is not something that you do one time. This is a continual process. It's an affirmation. And however it takes for you to become more confident in yourself, that's what you need to do. You need to move from a position of pain to power. And we don't mean power in terms of I am over somebody, right? That is the opposite. That is called control. But we want to have power. We want to have power over ourselves. We want to know that we are able to conquer whatever comes in our way. We don't know how, and that's totally fine, but we have this innate, just knowing inside of us that we can conquer whatever comes. We can address it, right? If that happens, deal with it at that point. So really the key, or one of the keys that I would say, is that we have to become more confident in us. And some of that is like building up our skills, right? Becoming more confident in, let's say, because I know a lot of bookkeepers, marketing, sales, advertising, that just, whoa, don't put that in front of me. You know, I don't want to do that. But when we boil it down, it really is pretty simple in what we need to do. We just need to gain confidence in us. So certainly we can build up our skills, but we really have to build our mind. We have to build our mindset. We have to build confidence in ourselves. We have to reach back in time and look at those times where we've been faced with a challenge that was a fear and we have overcome it. We have to grab that, because everything that's come your way to get to where you are here today, you've overcome. You need to acknowledge that, and you need to say, you know what? Yep, this is going to stand in my way until I overcome and I do it and I have confidence in my own ability. So in terms of like a hack, that would be my number one thing. And then obviously the book that I recommended is a great resource. And I've got several books that I'm actually going through right now. I'm teaching a class on Thursday about overcoming fear to my students. Beautiful.
I just love that. And such a great recommendation. And we will post that link as well. And if Susan Jeffers is still active, I think she'd be a great person to get on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have her on mine too. So she's she knows what she's talking about.
That first time I've heard of it, and I will definitely be a reader as well. So, fear, great hack, great tip, and just doing it. And of course, confidence comes from doing these things and learning from them. And that's a momentum that gets built. If you brought up sales, marketing, these types of things that traditionally are challenging for not just bookkeepers, but anybody that has not been in that industry where they're selling themselves, going out there looking for business, having to negotiate and all these things that come along with running your own business. What have you seen as some of the success points for people to go and, well, there's so many things one could do. Where is it the best place to focus for a person that's getting started?
In terms of getting clients?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So one of the things that I think that you mentioned earlier, we have so much information that is out there. And so when we have so much information, it leads to paralysis, right? It's like when I go to the store and I want to buy a bottle of ketchup, there's a whole freaking section where I can determine like brands, organic, non-organic, this one's with high fructose corn syrup. It's just so many decisions, and it paralyzes us. And we have to realize that in our business, bookkeeping, is first and foremost a relationship business. So you need to come at it from that angle. So what are you trying to do when you're out there marketing and selling and advertising? You're building up a relationship. You're building up trust, because people do business with those that they know, they like, and they trust. So when you are through this process, that is what you're attempting to do. You're attempting to establish yourself as an authority, as a person that they need to go to. You need to call out to your audience, which is a big hack right there, is knowing who your audience is, and say, I'm the best choice for you. And here's the compelling reason why, right? Because your marketing, if you are building up that trust and you're doing the things on the front end that you need to do, you're building up a relationship, okay? Media can come and go. It can be Facebook today, it can be Twitter tomorrow, it can be a BNI group the next week, right? It doesn't matter the media. It's the message and the market. And really that comes down to knowing your market, to clearly knowing who they are. And one of the big mistakes that I see people make is that they try to broadcast a message to the wrong market. The most important thing that you can do in all your marketing is to clearly define who your market is. Clearly define who your market is. And that's why we are a huge proponent of developing niches, or a niche. A singular niche would be the best thing. Is one of the things that really flipped the switch in our practice when we moved over to focusing on one. Because if you've clearly defined your market and you know them, right? You've interviewed them, you've listened to them, you understand what their jobs, pains, and gains are. Okay, the jobs that they have to do, the pains. This doesn't just relate to bookkeeping. This relates to everything in their business and in their life. Because if you say, this is the job that entrepreneur faces that they don't want to do, it's a pain in the butt for them. If I can take that away from them, what value have I added to them? So clearly defining your market and talking to them and knowing what their jobs, pains, and gains are so that you can address those, that is value. And when you put value in somebody's life, you have a business that is going to sustain forever, as long as you're putting value out there. So determining your market and then your message, right? If you have a pathetic message and you're putting it to the right market, you will get clients. But if you have the best message in the world and an ill-defined market, you'll never get clients. Okay? So those are a couple of things that we recommend, because now when you do that, when you clearly define your market, you know about them, they feel like you are talking to them individually because you know them so well. And that's when I talk to people about marketing, I try to make what seems complex and boil it down to being simple, right? I used to coach youth football for a number of years, and occasionally I'll get a coach that calls me and says, "Hey, we're having some struggles here. Can you come watch practice, or give me some tips and all that stuff?" And number one thing I find is that they're making it way too complex. It's all about blocking and tackling. I'll go to their practice and they spend 2 minutes on tackling. I'm like, you need to spend about 30 minutes on tackling instead of trying to run these crazy plays. And that's the same thing that happens in our businesses, right? We look for the ninja when we don't realize that really it's just the simplicity of the messaging, and realizing that this is a relationship that makes your marketing effective and allows you to put value into the marketplace. Does that answer your question? Sort of. I can talk forever on marketing. Okay, that's my juice right there.
I love it. I'm learning a whole bunch and just consuming it myself. So I was very quiet listening, but I love that concept of just keeping it simple. And I think we apply similar things for our community. Is that there are things that have been proven to work, and thousands of people have done them. They're not sexy, they're not new, they're not cutting edge. They're just the things that work. And but many people are going for this ninja move but they haven't done any of the things, the almost foundational things in their business, like you're talking about, which is message and your market. Like that's too, figure what are those, right? But no, I want ninja moves. I want the cutting edge. I want to be on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And those things are great. But if you haven't figured out those two foundational things, you're in trouble. So I just love that message, Ben. And I think we need to think about that for all of us. The listener is like, are you doing the foundational things that if you go out in the marketplace, your town, wherever you live, and you look at the most successful people that are in your industry, I guarantee you they've done all the foundational stuff and they haven't done any of the ninja stuff. And now they're at a place in their businesses likely where, hey, let's bring a couple ninja moves in here and slice things up. I don't know if I should maybe stop with this ninja analogy here.
You're right.
Butcher it up. They can go to those advanced moves and really capitalize on them and do a good job of them and get the payback. Whereas if you don't, then you're going to go out there and make a whole bunch of mistakes and spend a whole bunch of money, and you'll just be sitting there going, boom, this is not cool.
Yeah. And one thing I'll tell you is that selling bookkeeping services is the easiest thing in the world to sell. And let's look at it from this perspective. Every business owner in the world is required to have bookkeeping of some sorts, right? We know that the churn rate on bookkeeping is about 15 to 20% clients per year, right, that change bookkeepers or get a bookkeeper. So our message to them can be very simple, right? Let's just say that I'm serving dentists. I get in front of a dentist and I go, you know what? Hey, I'm a bookkeeper. I serve dentists exclusively. Do you need some bookkeeping help? Right? That's a very simple message, but guess what? If I get in front of 10 dentists, now that's a hard thing right there is get in front of 10 dentists or whoever your industry is.
You'd have super clean teeth.
Yeah, absolutely. If I get in front of that many, I may not do it that way. I'm going to land a client or two just cold calling, which is a 4-letter word, right? But what I'm trying to point out here is that the messaging, we think that we have to have all this ninja stuff. And it's good to have some of that after you've mastered the basics, right? Going back to the football analogy, I'll look at their playbook and they have like 30-something plays. And I'm like, okay, these are 11-year-old kids. You should never have more plays than the age that they are, right? And really, it should be about half of that. Those should be your bread and butter, and you should be able to run to those every single time. And when that doesn't work, then and only then do you go to something more advanced. And the same thing needs to happen in our business. It's such a simple message. Everybody has to have us. We just want to find what I call the bleeding necks. People who need us right now. That's all we have to do. Yeah. And everybody else, we want to make sure we stay in touch with, that we deliver value to through however that you want to do that. But just getting in front of that market, it's marketing, sales, and advertising is so simple, yet we make it so complicated. And I say that from the person who made it very complicated, but figured out along the way how to make it much more simple.
Wow, love it. I absolutely love it. And, there are people out there that just need this work. And so many pieces of gold you're giving away here. But I'm thinking of the value that's delivered when you help somebody do something that they don't want to do and you do a good job of it. I'm just, sitting here thinking, hey, ask your customers that you do have. It's like, that's the best thing to say. Hi, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can take off your table or take off your plate that you don't want to do, or you're behind, or that's stressing you out? If there's anything I could just, if you do find one of those things and you take it away and you create more freedom and flexibility for your clients, I mean, they're going to love you. They're not going to want to switch to another bookkeeper, right? And it's not, I just love that.
Let me give you a little simple exercise that you can do with your clients. And I can guarantee you probably about 98% of the other bookkeepers out there are not doing this. Set aside a couple hours a week, call your client and say, hey, Miss Entrepreneur, this is Bookkeeper. Hey, I just want to check in on you. How you doing? You have no agenda. You're not talking about, because we're always in communications with our clients about, hey, I need those receipts. Hey, what was this? We're always about tactical things. But you've got to put yourself in this perspective of an entrepreneur, which you yourself are. That is a lonely, lonely place. It's lonely at the top, is the saying. And they don't have a lot of people that they can go to. And remember, I said that bookkeeping is first and foremost a relationship business. And if you want to create a compelling, unbreakable relationship, it's through things like that, making that call and just talking to them about nothing that's bookkeeping related. Just, hey, I just want to check in on you. I've been thinking about you. I know it's lonely at the top. We're business owners. Just want to make sure that everything's good. And they're going to open up to you. First off, there's going to be dead silence on the other end, because nobody ever does that. Okay. And when you do that, they're like, wow, that's my most trusted advisor. And when you can get to that most trusted advisor status, which most of you have as bookkeepers, that is That is something that no software can replace. We're always talking about, well, artificial intelligence is going to do this. Yeah, our jobs are going to change 100% in the next 3 to 5 years. 100%. We will not be doing the things that we're doing today. But that right there, that relationship, there's nothing that's going to replace that. And that's when you start talking about delivering real value. That's when they don't care what you're charging. If you want to raise from $350 a month to $500 a month, they don't care, right? They just want that relationship. They know that you have their back. And simple things like that, right? That is so simple, yet so profound.
So profound. And I recently, I can relate to that just in a bizarre way, but Tammy Christensen's one of our clients, and we were at the Institute of Professional Bookkeepers here in Canada, their annual convention, national convention, and we were just having a conversation, and she was asking me questions and about business and life, and I'm an entrepreneur, I have businesses, and we both of us, Ben, we live these lives, right, that you're explaining, and she was so empathetic, and she was listening. She just said, and she said something to me. She said, like this is very difficult to do. You're under a lot of pressure. You're growing these businesses. The way she said it just felt like she understood me more than I'd experienced in a very long time, that anyone else has really understood me. And I almost started to cry. Yeah. I was just like, yeah, she got it. And she, she's not my bookkeeper. She's from, far away from me. But, if I was in her marketplace, I would be looking to hire her in a heartbeat, because just in a little side conversation, she got who I was. She got where I was, what I was dealing with. She got that I felt like I had the world on my shoulders, and it felt like she was the one that could lift that world off and take the pressure off. And my goodness, I mean, if more people can do that and just be empathetic and, like you said, call them and have no agenda and just check in. How are they doing? What's that big weight that's on their shoulders? And you might not be able to do anything for them, but just listening to them, man, that for me, that was so, I put my head on her shoulder. I'm like, Dammy, I love you.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So these little things that people don't think about, and I think this is a theme of our episode today, Ben, and is just the keeping it simple. Like, don't have too many plays in the playbook. Stick with the ones that we know that work, that are important, that are proven to produce results, and get out there and do them, right? I have my cousin. He's got a disability. He has a learning disability, unfortunately, in his life. And if you met him, you'd think gregarious guy, no problems, like nothing. But he does have a learning disability. So when he gets jobs, he doesn't tell them about his learning. He doesn't go in there and say, hey, I got this learning disability, but I'd like a job. They find out that he has this learning disability, and a lot of times it doesn't work out. And unfortunately, they don't keep him, right? They get rid of him or whatever the case would be. The point of the story is that he's always working, always. You know why? Because he's banging on every single door, and he does not get discouraged. He's like, oh, I lost the job, but it didn't work out. But I'm going, where are you going today? I'm going out to find jobs. I've got my resume. I got stacks of resumes. He's banging on jobs. He will find a job any day of the week because he'll bang on every single door until he gets that job. Now, I'm not saying that works for everyone, but I'm saying that if you just go out there are people that desperately need you. And what's in your way? What is in your way? It's probably just the fear or the fear of the rejection. But there's people out there that need you, and it's your fear of rejection or whatever that is that's in your way. Just bang on one door a day. Say hello to one extra person a day, and do the things that Ben's talking about. It will lead you to find the person that's got that bleeding neck, which is, they need that patched up.
That's right. Absolutely.
Wow, Ben, I can't believe, I'm looking at the time here, and I can't believe how the time has just flown past. We're definitely going to have you back and talk more marketing, more sales, more all sorts of stuff, but we try and keep these relatively short.
Sure.
Let's talk about your program. Let's talk about how people can get to know you more and take advantage of the wonderful things you're doing for bookkeepers.
Absolutely. So our flagship site is learntobeabookkeeper.com, learntobeabookkeeper.com. We have a 3-part free class series. It's really meant for as more of an introductory to the bookkeeping business model, which most of your folks already have that business. So some of it is very useful and relevant. But that we have our blog there too, and we have all kinds of information. I'll be honest though, I'm not the best blogger in the world. That's one of the things that I'm trying to get good on. And that goes back to an example, like, we didn't really have a website other than our basic blog posts and a couple of videos until like 6 months ago. And we're a pretty thriving business, but we were delivering tremendous value, right? So we all think that we have to have this perfect website and all this stuff up. Well, I'm living proof that I didn't really have any of that, and I'm a 100% online company, right? But we were just throwing a lot of value out there, and we had a starving market. But learntobeabookkeeper.com is where we are. Of course, our Facebook page. We used to be called Bookkeeper Business Academy. We changed that to Bookkeeper Business Launch, just because it sounded better. And we like the little rocket thing too. So we kind of had a little that symbol in there. But yeah, learntobeabookkeeper.com. We've got our blog and then our Facebook page. And I'm not a big social media person, but I know that we have some other stuff out there like the instant scrams and stuff like that. That's for my daughter. She does our social media, and I intentionally mess up saying things like Instagram and Twitter, and that just drives her crazy. And so she'll listen to this, and I just want to drive her crazy once more, because that's what a dad is supposed to do.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
And thank you, Michael. I appreciate everything that you're doing. It's the best time in the world to be a bookkeeper is right now. And the next 3 to 5 years, the changes that are coming ahead are exciting, and you should embrace them. And we should all embrace them, and we should be excited about the future and not fearful of it, because you're going to see a radical change in what you're able to do, the value that you're able to contribute, and the money that you're able to make. So hang on for the ride. It's going to be an exciting one, and we look to be part of driving that change, as are you, Michael.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and I think you already mentioned it, the AI and blockchain and machine learning and all these different things. They're all tools they're just new tools to use. But that whole concept of translating the tools to what a business owner really needs, that's where the sweet spot is, and that isn't going to change for a very long time until the tools are working for the tools and the computers are working for the computers, and we'll just be like, not
then
even
Skynet.
Skynet.
Terminator comes down at that point.
You got it, and it's like, then we'll be like eating dog food out of a can or something like that.
I'll be back.
I'll be back. Exactly. You and I think that's where we lost the listener, but you and I, Ben,
probably.
we're gonna have some fun with that over the years, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Ben, this has been terrific. I know people are going to go find more about you, follow what you have, and learn more from you. So this is exciting, and I'm so happy to be able to bring just an awesome person like you to our listeners.
Well, it's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much, Michael, and thanks for everything that you're doing for our community as well.
Ben, thank you for being on the show. That wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's guest and what an awesome guest he is, and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.